Hello and welcome back to another video on the situation in the Middle East. Earlier I reported on the start of the Israeli invasion of southern Lebanon, with a battle starting in the direction of Hezbollah's settlements and bases in southern Lebanon. Following the escalation that took place at the border area, which met with conflicting reports. According to the Israeli army, they had sent a lot of special forces, paratroopers across the border to create a buffer zone or create an area where the main army can start entering into Lebanon with a limited invasion. But Hezbollah claims that they have not seen any and that there was no enemy within Lebanese territory. This whole thing is very weird. But at the same time, we now see a massive missile strike taking place from Iran, where they actually managed to launch hundreds of missiles towards Israel, hundreds of ballistic missiles. They are likely of the type Fatah 1, which has a payload of 350 to 450 kilograms, about 1,000 pounds. It also has a range of about 1,400 kilometers. It is reported that the missiles flew above Jordan, so it is somewhere within the border area that it passed through. This means that in general, the firing point would be within 1,400 kilometers. So western parts of Iran, somewhere between this area right here. So based on this, we see it could also be here where it enters Jordanian airspace, just in the area between Syria and Israel. So in general, the western parts of Iran, not within this Saudi airspace, so somewhere in this northwestern parts, was where the Iranians launched the missiles from. We see several videos of this, both of the launches of the missiles, such as this one where we see a large wave of missiles launched somewhere in Iran. And we also see several videos, this one from Jerusalem, of civilians within Israel and Palestine recording the missiles being launched towards the different cities in Israel. We also see this video here of a massive wave striking an Israeli airbase in Tel Aviv. We see the majority of these missiles actually managed to hit. Some were shot down, but the majority managed to hit. And this shows the effectiveness of how the Iranians can overload the Israeli air defense by sending these large waves. We also have this video here, which is a much closer perspective of the strikes that took place in Tel Aviv. Zooms in to see several strikes, smokes rising, and some fires starting. And this is also from the same area, the airfield which was struck near Tel Aviv. So the Iranians actually struck 3 separate airfields within Israeli territory, and the majority of these missiles seems to have hit. There's also this footage of allegedly a gas rig burning out in the sea near the coast. So this shows that the Iranians were also hitting Israeli civilian infrastructure. We just got this close-up footage of Iranian missile strikes hitting one of the airfields, and we see these are a lot of hits, and they all hit accurately within the airfield area. So we see that there is likely some sort of damage, whether it is jets being hit, ammunition depots, or just the runway. It could limit the Israeli Air Force capabilities in the near future until the different strikes are fixed. In general, these strikes did not do a lot of damage, as the Iranians used the missiles, the ballistic missiles they have with the lowest payload. As we saw with the footage, there's not a lot of damage that comes from such missiles. The goal of the Iranians was to test the Israeli air defense, and test it they have, as they now have found a gap in the Israeli air defense. They now know with this amount of ballistic missiles, they are capable of striking Israeli targets. And this also means that if Iran manages to create nuclear weapons, they will be able to hit Israel, and Israel could be nuked. That is something that they have proven with this strike. And this is why, in my opinion, I did an analysis and wrote it out on my Telegram, and the conclusion I came to is that this situation is extremely difficult to see how this does not escalate into all-out war, because for the first time in history, Israel's air defense system was completely helpless. Iran now knows it works, it can repeat this at will. Iran has thousands of ballistic missiles with heavier payloads than this, and if they make nuclear weapons, they have that as well. Therefore, this strike is a death sentence to Israel, as it shows that their air defense is not invincible and that the Iranians can simply bypass it by launching enough missiles. Iranian media, which of course is very biased in this scenario as it is an Iranian strike and Iranian media is state-controlled, so it's very easy for them to simply exaggerate the results. But so far they are reporting that they have struck 20 Israeli F-35 fighter jets. There's no way to confirm this information, so you can take it with a grain of salt and simply not believe it, because it's simply hearsay. There's no way to verify this information unless we go to Israel, to the airbase, and check it out, which naturally we cannot do. Therefore, I'll just share the report as it is. You can believe it if you choose to or not. It does not really make a difference. The point is, again, Iran has proven it can strike Israel, and they can either strike them accurately, they can strike them and hit the targets, and they can bypass the Israeli air defense. This will very, very, very likely evolve into a war. And it will likely be a direct war, because the very existence of Israel is now under threat. Now, what comes next is extremely important, because the ball is now in Israel's field. They are the ones who can pick the next strike. Will they respond to this Iranian strike on Israel, which will lead to further escalation? The Iranians have said any response to this strike would require a stronger response by Iran. It is escalation to de-escalate. Israel is the master of this strategy, and they always do this in a way where they escalate even further to just completely destroy anyone who attacks them, to discourage any further attacks. And considering Iran has just proven that they can strike Israel, the very likely response by Israel would be to hit any and every Iranian nuclear facility to prevent the Iranians from evolving and building their first nuclear bombs, to avoid the Iranians from being capable of launching nukes at Israel. That is my prediction. If Israel wants to preserve its own statehood, then it will look to attack Iranian nuclear facilities. So again, this is probably the most dangerous time the Middle East has seen since, well, forever really, because we are on the brink of a nuclear disaster. And that's going to be all for this update. Thank you for watching, and really just stay safe.